The first thing I want to mention as a reminder is where to find the links for things we are doing, because sometimes I may be offline. So if you are working on any projects, to find the links for the projects, all you have to do is come to the AWS DevOps channel. Then here you are going to see this file logo. If you click on it, the first time you come to this AWS DevOps channel, it will look like this. So if you click on this file logo, it would open this tab, and here you will see some important links. So based on what links you are looking for, scroll down here, you'll find the links for different things. And if there's a particular link you are looking for that is not here, let me know. I'm going to add it. All the assignments so far that we've completed here. So you'll see assignment 1, 2, 3, and 4. That way you don't have to wait for me to send the assignment to you. Once you finish the project in your account, each assignment corresponds with each project. When you finish project 1, assignment 1 will be corresponding with project 1. And when you finish project 2, assignment 2 will be corresponding with project 2. You can also ask me if you have any questions, but this is how you can move down the list, and this is how you can complete the assignments that are corresponding with the projects you are working on. So that's the first thing. And to find this link, all you have to do is come to the AWS DevOps channel, click on this icon here, and you'll see all the information in there. The next thing I also want to mention is I've created the Google document. I will be sharing it with you guys after class today. And for this Google document, I've added everyone's name so far. Not everyone is here, but if your name is not on the list, we'll walk through a demo of how to add your name on the list and start tracking your progress. So far, for everyone that I have, these are the names that I've added here. And I've added some filter so you can sort it in alphabetical order based on names, the Slack username, groups, time zone, or whatever. So to use this document, since we are all going to be using it together, please try to understand how to edit it. So that way you are always making sure you are editing your information, not what someone else is entering under their information. This document works like any Excel sheet. And if your name is not here, let's just walk through a demo on how to add yourself. So for example, I know one person that is not here is Ronnie. So if I wanted to add him, you will come here, you enter your name under name. Then under Slack username, you will enter your username here. I'm not sure what your username is, Ronnie. So you will enter your username here. And for the group, I've said that since people are always in and out, it is difficult for me to assign you to a group, and you might, based on for whatever reasons, you might not show up for class for weeks. So the group thing was originally what you guys suggested. I still want to keep it, but I will leave it up to you guys to join any group you want to join. So far, for the people that are in the group, these are their names and their group number. So how you can decide who is in what group and how you can reach out to them is you can use their Slack username, and you can also look at their progress here and see what projects they've completed that you are working on that you may have questions on. So that would be a good idea to use to reach out to someone. I've also had the time zone here. So for everyone, feel free to enter your time zone so that way other members are also aware of the time zone you are in. So once you add that information here and your time zone, the next thing here is just the progress on each assignment. Right now we are on assignment 4. And for this, all you have to do is select one of this cell. Once you select one of this cell, right click on it and copy it. Once you copy it, click this cell, right click and do paste special. Then here, all you have to do is select data validation only. So when you select that, it is going to put that same option in your cell. And if you want to do the same thing for the other cells, just select all the other cells and right click, paste special, data validation only, and you have that option there. So this is how you will enter your information. So let's look at my name is here. And for the assignment I've completed, all you have to do is click on this drop down and you will see 3 options: not started, in progress, and completed. So if you've completed assignment 1, you just have to mark this as completed. Then for assignment 2, I've completed it. I'm going to mark it as completed. Assignment 3, I'm going to mark it as completed. Assignment 4 is in progress. Then I'm going to put that in progress. This is the method we will use to track our progress in addition to the Jira board. So the Jira board is where you put your tasks, where you would post the acceptance criteria, where I will review your work. But here, you can use this to track your progress. So that way, you know what projects you've completed. Other members know what projects you've completed. And once you complete all the projects to the end, you know you have followed all the phases in the image that I created for you guys, that I said to give yourself the best chance to get a job. You want to make sure you complete all these projects, you understand the projects, and make sure you complete those projects before you start applying for work. So this is just a good way to track it. And if your name is not on this list, add your name to the list once I give you access to this Excel document, and start tracking your progress from there. Does anyone have any question?
Good job, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so please use the Excel sheet to see what other members have completed, and they would be a good resource to reach out to if you are working on the same project and you are having any issue. Also reach out to me too. A good reason why this is a good idea is at work, it will be similar experience. You may be working on something that your coworker has worked on before, and you may be having a particular issue with it. So you want to get in a habit of not only reaching out to them, but understanding how to ask the right question. Because it's not about asking question, it's just how you ask the question and understanding how to ask the right questions, which also involves what research have you done, what have you done, what are you having issue with. So everything we are doing here is meant to mimic as much of what your day-to-day would be like when you start working.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if we have a member who goes by Festus, or if, because mine is Titus, so I was just confused.
Festus?
Number 18.
Yeah. Is that your name?
It's Titus, so I was just wondering if it's somebody else or...
Oh, this is someone else. This is not you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So your name is not on the list. So remember, you are not part of a group now, but I think you and Edgar spoke, and you are part of Edgar's group, right?
Right.
Yeah, so this was the previous list I had before you joined Edgar's group. So add your name here and just follow the same process and start tracking your work.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. I really don't have much for today because you guys, thank you for keeping track of your work, posting the update to your work on Jira and tracking it there. And for those of you that have your work in review, I have pretty much approved everything and I've moved it into done. So if you don't see your work in review, it's because I've reviewed it. And if everything is right, I've added to the done column. And if I had a question on it or there's things you need to change, I either provide my comments and move it back to in progress. So that is it for Jira. There isn't anything in review now. I want to say the static website we did, that is just kind of like warming us up to some of the things we should expect when we are building the dynamic application. So in the static website, we created our VPC, we set up our security group. So that is just warming you up to everything. So now that we are doing the dynamic website, this is the main one that would really build your knowledge on everything you need to learn, because out of this dynamic web app, we are going to deploy our application. So here, this is the plan moving forward. So with this dynamic web app, we are here now. We are here, and the first project we are working on, which is project 4, in this phase is we are deploying the app on an EC2 instance. Once we are done, we will deploy it on Docker, and I will try to get the Kubernetes course out so you guys can have reference to it so that we can complete the Kubernetes. If you are on the dynamic website, this is the phase you are in. First, we will deploy it on an EC2 instance using the reference architecture that we created. Then we will deploy it using Docker, then the Kubernetes. This is the hands-on part where you build it in the management console so that you understand each settings that is required to configure the app and deploy the app on AWS. Once you've done that, in the next phase is where we will automate everything. So the same thing you did here, we will build everything out in Terraform, and you'll be able to understand how to deploy any of this application using Terraform, because your day-to-day at work will be in this phase. Nothing is done in the management console. I always say before you deploy any application using Terraform, you should know how to deploy that application using the management console. That is why we are doing this first. This is very important because you will see that everything you are doing here is the same thing you will do here, except for we are just writing it in Terraform code. Once you complete all the project in this phase and you can deploy all the applications you created here using Terraform and you understand Python and all those things, start applying for work. You know more than enough then, and you'll just learn the rest at your job. The CI/CD project is already in your account now. Yeah, the CI/CD project is already in your account. Yeah, so yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm talking about the one that you released that kind of like entails everything that we've been doing.
Yes, that is this one here.
Okay.
Yeah, that is already in your account. But I would say make sure you follow this part to complete all this project before you start doing this one, because this project is pretty much a conclusion of all this project.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Hello.
I'm just curious to know, how much of Python do you need in your day-to-day job? Because just again, in regard of people that don't have fundamental background in
Yes.
Python, do you need like a deep knowledge of it? Because I know you also use it for Terraform.
Yes. So when it comes to Python, you don't need to be an expert Python programmer. I'll say what I did is I took a course on Python that just brushed me through the basics of Python, what a list is, what a string is, things like that. Then once I went through the course, the next thing I did is how can I use Python to create resources in AWS? When it comes to the Python experience, you need to work as a cloud engineer. You just need to understand how to use Python to create resources in AWS or automate certain tasks in AWS. Once we are done with all this project, we will work on a Python project. I have a Python project that you guys will work on. And that Python project will center around security, because one of the questions I get the most is for the resources that I'm not using, you guys are always worried about not leaving your resources running so that you don't get charged for it. So what we are going to do is we are going to write a Python script that will check your AWS account for any resources that you should have stopped or terminate. And that Python script will automate the task of terminating those resources or stopping those resources for you. So we'll work on a Python project that will give you an idea of how to use Python to automate certain things in AWS. So when it comes to the experience, to answer your question, you don't need to be an expert Python programmer, because there are people that understand how to program in Python to write different apps. For you as a cloud engineer, you just need to understand how to use Python to create resources in AWS. And similar to Terraform, in AWS, there is Boto3, which is a tool that allows you to use Python to create resources in AWS. And with Boto3, just like Terraform, it comes with the documentation. So anything you are trying to do, there is a base documentation you can look at, and you can just add your own extra options and arguments to it. So that is the good thing about it. It's not like something where you just have to sit there and start to write code. There is like base documents you can use. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay. Does anyone else have any other question? Okay. The next thing I want to walk you guys through is the assignment. And on this week's assignment, remember we said in the last class that understanding the process to install any application on AWS or your EC2 instance. This is something I want you guys to understand, because when we start doing the Docker projects, everything ties up to each other. So as you pick up the knowledge here, you will see it in the Docker project. It is very apparent, which is why I've also taken the time to outline it for you, what you need to do. So for this project, we've said that the application we are working on is a LAMP stack, which LAMP means Linux. We will be using a Linux server. Some of the software we would have installed on the Linux server is Apache, which is the engine that we will use to serve our HTML site. We will have MySQL, which is the engine we will use for our database. And we will have PHP, which is the dynamic portion of our application. So for the requirements, we will launch an EC2 instance using Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. And once you launch your EC2 instance, you have to install the softwares that are required for your application to run on that EC2 instance. The software for this particular application that we are working on, the software that is required for that application to run is you must install Apache on your EC2 instance. You must install PHP version 8. Then you must also install all these PHP extensions. You must install MySQL version 8 and enable PHP core module. And also you need to open the php.ini file and make sure that the memory limit and max execution time are set to these numbers. Then finally, we need to enable mode rewrite on our EC2 instance. So I'll walk you through the process of how I will start to work on the commands that I'm going to run on my EC2 instance to install these softwares on my EC2 instance to meet the requirement. So once you've created your VPC and you've set up your security groups and everything, for this project, I said use the EC2 instance connect endpoint. Once you've set up everything, this is how I would go about getting my commands that makes up my script. I would launch an EC2 instance in the public subnet. So under instances, I'm going to launch an EC2 instance. I'll just call it test EC2. And under application and OS images, it is going to be Amazon Linux. And we will use Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. We'll leave the description as the same. The instance type is going to be T2 Micro. Under key pair, we are going to select this drop down. Remember, all you are doing at this stage is this is not the server that we use to install your application. You're just testing your commands to make sure your command works. So here I can use a key pair. So since I have a key pair in my account, I'm just going to use a key pair. So this is the key pair. I'm going to use that one. And since I'm launching it in the public subnet, I'm going to create a new security group. And on this security group, all I'm just going to do is open port 22 from my IP. So you can see here, I'm opening SSH on port 22 from my IP address. And that is all I need. Remember, for this instance, I'm using Amazon Linux 2023. Instance type is T2 Micro. I'm using a key pair to SSH into it because I don't have an endpoint that is connected to the public subnet. And I've selected my VPC public subnet, and I created a new security group, and I opened the SSH port from my IP address. Then I'm going to launch the instance. Once I launch the instance, I'm going to click the instance ID to go into it. And this is the instance. I'll wait for the instance to be running, then I will SSH into it. Then I'll show you the process that I use to get the command. And remember, I said here, you just want to test your command that they work. Once your command works, you add it to your notes and you move on to the next software you need to install. Do a research for the command, run it on this EC2 instance. If it works, move on to the next one. This is how you will test all the commands that they are working properly before you create your script. So these are the commands that make up your script. My EC2 instance is now running. I'm going to select it and I'll copy the public IPv4 address. I'm going to open PowerShell and find my command. This is the command that I use to SSH into an EC2 instance using my key pair. Remember, it is SSH-I, the path to your key pair, then the username of your EC2 instance, which is EC2-user at the public IPv4 address of the EC2 instance. Once you paste the IP address, I'm going to press enter. And here, it always asks you this question. I'm going to type yes and press enter. So now I have SSH into that EC2 instance. And to be frank with you guys, the first software option we need to install is Apache. So this is what I always do. I would open a new note here, something like this. And I know the first time we SSH into our EC2 instance, we need to update it. So that is sudo update -y. So that is the first command we always run. So to test it, you can copy it and paste it here, run it. And if the command is successful, you know that command is successful. Right now, there is nothing to update. So that is fine. Then the next thing we need to do is, according to our software requirements, we need to install Apache. So I'm going to either use Google, but since ChatGPT exists now, I like using it for things like this because it takes you straight to the answer instead of having to search through different Google results. So I'm just going to open it and I'll just type, I want to install Apache on Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. So I'll press enter. You can see here, we add the sudo yum update to update our EC2 instance. Then here, it says use yum to install Apache on your Amazon Linux instance. So it is saying use this command. And once we have installed Apache, we will use systemctl to start the service. We will also enable the Apache service to be in the start mode anytime we reboot our system. So you guys have seen this command before, especially when you worked on the previous project. So what I will do is I'll copy this command for now, and I'm just going to paste it in my notes. And what you guys can do is when you guys see the commands that I give you guys, I always add my comments here. For your comments, you can just add install Apache. So that way you understand what each command is doing. Then right under it, you can add another start the Apache service. Then right under it, you can copy it. And here you can also copy whatever ChatGPT is saying. So I'm going to copy these two commands and add it to my notes. And the next command here is just checking the status of the service. So once you have your command, this is the first one. We can copy it, and in our terminal, we're going to paste it there, press enter. It is asking you for your input. You type Y and press enter. It is now installing it. So if you run the command there and it is asking you for an input, that means that when you run it as your script, it would also need an input. So here in the command, you can just add -Y. So any command you run that is asking you to enter Y for yes, then you can just include this option -Y in the command you are going to run as your shell script. So that way you account for that option to enter yes. So we've run that command, is successful. That is how I get that command in my script. Then the next one I'm going to move to is the second command to start the Apache service and enable the service. So once I copy it, I'm going to copy it here and paste it here, press enter. You can see those commands ran successfully. That is how I get that command. And the next thing we can do is check the status of Apache. You don't need to include this in your script because this is just checking the status of the service. You can copy that command, paste it here. You can see that the service is enabled and the service is running. Now you can be sure that the command you have added to your script to install Apache is working correctly. Then that means that you have satisfied this requirement. The next thing you are going to do is move on to the next requirement. Just like you did the Apache, you are going to do the same thing here. And you will say, I want to install PHP 8. So you can just type the same thing. I want to install PHP, I can say version 8 on Amazon Linux 2023. Press enter. Once you press enter, it will give you the results, right? Here, we've already had sudo yum update, so we don't need that. The next thing is, it is saying to use yum, but watch what will happen if I run this command. I'm not saying ChatGPT works 100% of the time. Sometimes you may have to ask it a question in a certain way. So it is saying to install the latest version of PHP, I should run this, and watch what will happen when you run this. This is the reason why I say testing your command is very important. So once I copy that command from here to install PHP, I'm going to paste it here. And it is asking me to enter the Y option for yes. And that works. So when you run the command and it works, now you know you can use that option to install PHP. I mean, if you run the command, it works, you know this command works, then you add this command to your note. Also here, once you install it, it is telling you these are some PHP extensions you can install. But that will be the next thing we will do. But it's telling you to install Apache. So you don't necessarily need all this. For the requirement we want, we just want to install PHP in that second one. And to verify that PHP is installed on your Linux machine, I believe it's PHP -v. So here you type PHP -v. When you type PHP -v, if you get an output here, that means PHP is installed. So now you have satisfied the second requirement that your server must meet PHP version 8. Then you'll do the same thing for this. So I said you must install all these extensions on your server. So copy all these extensions, and in ChatGPT, you can say, I want to install these PHP extensions on Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. Then I'm going to paste the extensions down here and run it. First, it is saying you need to update your EC2 instance. We already did that. It is telling you this is the command to install all the extensions that I've mentioned that your server must meet on the EC2 instance. So copy this and run it on your EC2 instance you are using to test the command. So here, I'm just going to press enter and paste it there. It is asking you for the option to enter Y for yes. So remember, anytime you add Y for yes there, that means that in your command, you have to enter it, because when we run it as a shell script, you want to account for that Y for yes. So it ran it successfully. And to check the different PHP extensions that is installed on your EC2 instance, you can ask ChatGPT, but the command is php-m. If you type this and press enter, you will see it will show you all the PHP extensions that are installed. You can see they're also called PHP modules, and under it, you can see all the PHP modules that are installed. So you just want to review all these modules to make sure that each one of those names is in the requirement. But since we copy pasted in there, all of the required PHP extensions would be installed, because that is what we asked ChatGPT. So now that you've tested the command, all you have to do is copy this, and in your notes, you come down here and you can type your notes, so that way you remember what the command does. So here I'll say install PHP extensions and paste that command there. So that is how we satisfy this command. So we've done 1, 2, 3. The next one is we need to install MySQL version 8. So here we are going to
put the dash Y, sir.
Excuse me?
Dash Y on the two last comment.
Yeah, you can also put it here. You don't have to always put it at the end. So you can either put it after the install, or you can put it at the end. Either one of these will work. The next requirement is we need to install MySQL version 8. So this same process. ChatGPT is much faster to give you the answer, but you can always use Google too. You guys don't think of it as you need to know these things off it. Nobody knows all these things off it, unless if you're a Linux guy that you've installed different applications and you just know it. Using ChatGPT is no different from using Google, except for it is much, much powerful in terms of it gives you the answer you are looking for, as opposed to if I type the same question in Google, I'll get all these results and I'll have to go through each one. So it is just an efficient way to be more productive. That's how you should look at it. It doesn't make you dumb to use ChatGPT. Bello asks, how do we know we need to install the extension? The developer will tell you. So for whatever application you are installing, there will be a documentation that comes with that application. And in that documentation, they will say, to run this application on your EC2 instance, you need to make sure that your EC2 instance meets working through now. And the developer that built that application will tell you that you need to install all these extensions. So we need to install MySQL version 8. I'm going to type, I want to install MySQL version 8 on an Amazon Linux 2023 AMI presenter. So here it is giving me the results, and you just have to go through it. This is going to update the EC2 instance. We've done that. Then here it is saying use yum to install MySQL 8 on your Linux instance. It is saying to run this command to install MySQL 8, which is why I always say test your command, because I'm pretty sure when I asked it the first time, this command doesn't work. But let's test it now. I'm going to copy it and paste it here, press enter. So you can see that command doesn't work. So that's why I say ChatGPT is not always right. Sometimes the command may be wrong, which is why it is important to test it. So for this one, if ChatGPT doesn't work, I'm just going to copy my question here and I'm going to try Google. When you type it in Google, you can see someone has a video here on how to install MySQL on Amazon Linux 2023. I'll just watch that person's video. You have to use as many resources as you can to get to the answer of what you want to get to. So I'm going to just pause that sound because it is distracting me. So here, watch the video to see how he installed it. And I believe when I was installing MySQL, I actually got the answer from this guy's video. So you guys feel free to check him out. And I think here he has like a website where he has the documentation on how he installed it. So all I did is I came to the documentation. You can see here how to install MySQL on Amazon Linux 2023. Yeah. So all I'm just going to do is scroll down here and installing my community repository. It is saying run this command. So I'm going to copy these commands. And this is the first command he said to run. I'm going to copy this command, paste it here. Yeah. And I think I pasted it twice. So I pasted it twice. I didn't mean to do that. So I pasted it and it did, that command worked successfully. You can see that it installed the MySQL community here, which it ran successfully. It was just when I was pasting it, I pasted it twice. I didn't mean to do that. So I know that first command works. I'm just going to add it to my note. So here, I'm going to paste it here. And whatever he said there, install MySQL community repository. So you can copy this and add it to your note. Then the next thing he said to do is once you install the MySQL community repository, you need to install the MySQL server. And he's saying this is the command to install it. So copy this command, then test it on your server. So I'm going to also paste it here. Paste it here. And it has successfully installed those. So I think for that one, it is asking you to enter the option Y for yes here. So anytime a command has installed in it, as I believe that is the time it will be asking you for that Y for yes option. So it is asking you for the Y option here, and it is asking you for the Y option here. You can see I ran those commands that he provided, and those commands are successful. So that is how I come up with how to install MySQL. Then the next thing he said to do is start the MySQL server. This is the command to start it. And the next command is checking whether MySQL is installed. So I'm going to copy it. For our application, we just need to install it up to 4. This secure the MySQL installation and test it. Because we are using RDS instance, we don't need to use this ones. We just need to install MySQL and check that MySQL is installed. So that is why I only used is instruction up to this part. Then here, I'm going to test it by pasting it here. I believe I may have run into that issue when I ran my command twice. So what I'm going to do is, so sometimes when you are testing these commands, it is try and error. Because I pasted that command twice, I believe that's why I ran into this issue, because I've tested this command before and it does work. So if you make a mistake on your EC2 instance, you can just launch another EC2 instance. So I'm just going to launch another one real quick. It will be the same AMI Amazon Linux 2023. I'm going to use my key pair. And this is exactly what I did when I was testing all the commands too. I had to launch several EC2 instances just to make sure that the command is working. So here, I'm going to select my public subnet, and I'm going to already create a group, which is this one, I believe. And that is all I need. I'm going to launch the EC2 instance. Then I'm going to go to that EC2 instance, select it, copy the public IPv4, going to open PowerShell. I'll wait for this to be running. Okay, select it, copy the public IPv4, then open PowerShell. Going to SSH into it, type Y for yes. Okay, I'm in it. All I need to do is test the MySQL command. So this is the command to install MySQL. First, I need to copy this to install the MySQL community repository. I'm going to copy it and paste it there, press enter. So this is what I missed the first time when I paste the command there twice. Once I did that, then I'm going to copy this one to install MySQL, and I'm going to paste it there. Yeah, so now it's working properly. Here, it wants me to press enter. I'm going to press enter, and now it is installing MySQL. So the issue I had on the first EC2 instance is because I pasted my command there twice, and that gave me the error. So when you are running the commands, I would recommend pasting it one at a time, making sure those commands work. When they work, add it to your notes. The only time you would have to put an extensive amount of work in finding the commands and running it is now, when we are doing it this way. But once you have all your commands done, the next time you need to install MySQL version 8, you already know you have the command from when you completed this project. You just go and get it from your note and you use it. So when in the project I'm providing all the commands to you guys, this is exactly how I'm getting it. I've run the second command, which according to his documentation, that is to install the MySQL server. So here, no, that is to install the MySQL server, this command. So here you can copy. I always recommend copy the instructions on what that command is doing and add it to your notes. So that way you understand. Then once we install the MySQL server, the next thing we need to do is start the MySQL server. So here, I'm going to first copy this, come down here, paste it here. Don't forget to put the hashtag symbol there. And then I'm going to copy his command from here. And I'm going to run it here first. You can see now that command works. When I press enter, it is starting the MySQL service. And also the next command is just to check whether MySQL is installed. You can see that is this command. And here it is telling you MySQL version 8 is installed. So with that, we have our requirement. So I'm going to paste it here. And that is how you would complete this part. The next part is you need to enable PHP core module on your Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. This took a couple of tries to get it right. I had to ask ChatGPT in several ways, and finally I got to the command that I need to do that. So let's try it now and see if that will work. But if this don't work, if you've tried to get it, it doesn't work, I'll give you the command. So on ChatGPT, I'm just going to paste that there because the developer told me that I need to do this, but I'm not 100% even sure what that does. So I'm going to paste that there. So this is what it gave me. It says I need to first update my EC2 instance. Then I need to install. I've already installed PHP, so we don't need to do that. Then we need to install this PHP core. Then we need to install this PHP core. Right. Yes, we need to install this. Sorry, I was reading the comment. So we need to install this. So let's just test it. I'm going to copy this and test it on my, well, I need to probably install PHP because remember, this is the new EC2 instance I launched and I didn't install PHP on it. So first I'm going to run this. When you are in PowerShell, one thing I don't like is if you click before you, if you try to paste your command before you click on it, it would not work. So first you have to copy the command. Then in PowerShell, first you have to click on it. Then once you click on it, see, it's not working. So I'm going to copy it, then come to PowerShell. Once you see that thing blinking, then you paste it. Then that will work. Then I need to run this to install PHP. Then this is the command to install the PHP core. I'm going to paste it. It is asking me why for yes. And that is all you need to do to satisfy that one. But I'll tell you guys now, let me just paste it in the Slack channel. When I try that command and see if that works, I mean, that command works, but it is different from what I got when and I can't remember what questions I asked it. I asked it like different questions because the first command it gave me didn't work. So for this one, it is saying that this is how to enable it. The command we need is this. So you can press enter on your note and paste it there. Then you can add the notes. So for that requirement, I believe we just need to install PHP core. And this is the command we need to do that. So yes, it is right because it is similar to my command. So this is the command. Then the next requirement is we need to change the memory limit and the max execution time in our php.ini file. So I'm just going to do this, copy this, and I'm going to. So before we even ask ChatGPT, what this means is, I'm trying to figure out where this is. Maybe that's what I should have put in your. So on our server, there should be a php.ini file, right? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to change some settings on that file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to update that requirement to tell you where that file is located. And I think that file is located in so here you would, the file is located in your etc. So here, if you type cd etc, oh, I need to cd like this. Let's try that. Yeah. Okay. So make sure you have the / in the front and press ls, right? In that etc directory, you'll see all these files here, and you'll see all these files and directories. So the file we are trying to update is php.ini. You can see it here. So if you cut this file, right, there's a bunch of information in it. So what the developer is telling you is that there's a bunch of PHP settings in this file, right? You just need to find where they have listed memory limit and max execution time in this file. So if we keep scrolling in this file, we will find where they have the memory limit and max execution time, and you will see that it is equal to something, and they are telling you to update, to edit this file and update that value. You can see there are some stuff here that is equal to something. Now you can see this is catch session. We just need to keep scrolling. I believe the first time I was looking at it, it took me forever to find it. And I can't remember what section of this file it is located in, which is why I use ChatGPT to cheat. So basically what I'm trying to say is, in this file, there's the option for the max limit and max execution time, or whatever that requirement is. You just need to find it and update it. So like it said, you can use grep to find it. So I'm not a Linux guru, so I'm going to, I believe how you run the grep command is, let me cut.
We can cut pipe and grep.
Then pipe it, then you do this.
The grep of the word.
Yeah, thank you. So don't forget to remove this. So I'm cutting the file, the same command then in that file, I'm saying I want to look for this word. I'm just going to press enter.
To put grep.
Oh, grep, I didn't put grep, that is true. There you go. So you can see in that file, memory limit is set to this. So we need to update it. On Amazon Linux 2023, it already comes with that value. So you don't even need to change anything on it. So I'm going to run that command again, but with the max execution time. You can see the max execution time that comes with your Amazon Linux is set to 30, and the developer is requesting that you set it to 300. You need to find this max execution time in this PHP ini file on your EC2 instance and change the value to 30. So this is where I'm not really good at the Linux command and how to manipulate things on it, which is one of the key things I always use ChatGPT for. So here, I'm just going to say, I want to.
Can use Vim.
Yes, you can use Vim, but our command, we want to make sure that our command also works with a script, bash script, because you are manipulating the file. So Vim is
okay.
if you want to edit it. So the command you will use to do that is sed, to manipulate that file. The sed command will allow you to do that, but I don't know the full command to run to do that. So I'm just going to ask ChatGPT. Do I want to use sed command to change the max execution time in my PHP 3M? So I'm just going to type something as descriptive and run it. So here is telling me that this is the command to do that. So I'm going to copy the command here, and I'm just going to test it here. So I'll paste it here, press enter. Then now I will run that other command that I grep it just to check it. You can see now that it has changed it to 300. This is the command, the sed command you can use to change the max execution time to 300 on that file. Now that we've run it on the EC2 instance that it works, we are just going to paste it in our notes.
GPT is powerful.
Yes. Yeah. So mainly things that I use ChatGPT for is if I get stuck with my Terraform code and I can't figure out what an error is, or Linux commands that I need to use to create a shell script, and I'm not 100% sure how to be honest, I wouldn't have known how to do this by myself. Prior to ChatGPT, I used to use Stack Overflow and Google, and some people have probably pasted the answer online, but I'm not like a super guru in Linux. So for Linux, I just understand, which is what I'm telling you at this stage. The main thing I want you to understand is what this command is doing. And I showed you prior to asking ChatGPT that what this command is doing is our developer told us that we need to update this value in the php.ini file on our server. So your understanding should be, I know there's a file on my server, I need to update the file. If you use VI, you can go into that file and change this value. But when we start running this command in our shell script and in our CI/CD pipeline, we want to be able to run a command that will do that for us without us having to SSH into it. So that's the main knowledge you need to understand. If you look for how to get the command, that is fine. So this is that command, and I'm just going to copy this and add my notes. And that is it for that one. Then the last one we need to do is enable mode rewrite on our EC2 instance. Again, the mode rewrite on your EC2 instance also is, there is a httpd.conf file on your EC2 instance that you need to change a setting on it. Just like I showed you here in this etc directory, if we ls in there is a httpd.conf. So these are in alphabetical order. So if you, in this directory, there is this HTTP directory. So we need to go in that directory. And in that directory, if we ls, there is a conf directory, which is here. We need to cd into that conf directory and ls. And this is the file we are trying to update. So if I cat that file, so in this file, there is a mode rewrite option that we need to change to, let me see if I can find it. Right here, I believe is, I'm going to grep,
to go back
I'm going to grep
and
it.
grab it too.
These are all the different sections that this word allow override shows up in this file. So the mode rewrite is on this one, I believe, this h.ht access file. This is it. So I can probably grab it by this word and see what I get. Okay. So at this section of this file, I always, basically what I'm saying is if you look in this file, there's a section in this file that has this line, and all you need to do is, you see how all these are set to none? You need to enable it. So instead of none, we want to set it to all. So I can just ask ChatGPT the command to do that. But if you were doing it physically on your server, you will come to this php.ini file, find where it has this comment about allowing mode rewrite on the HT access file, and you need to change this value from allow override none to all. You just need to change this none to all on wherever that setting is on this file. So I'm just going to ask ChatGPT. So I'm just going to give it that word. I want to enable mode rewrite on Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. So you can see the same thing I told you guys. Here it is actually telling you exactly, if you read this, where to find it on that file. And you can see what I said, this allow override. Right now, currently now, it is set to none, and we want to change it to all. So basically what I'm saying is, basically, if you want to change it, you have to come into this directory and edit this file and find where this allow none is and change it to all. And if you want to do it with a command, since I don't think I will even know this command, how to get it done. So it is telling you to run this command. So here we are supposed to check this HTTPD service, which I don't think I installed Apache on this EC2 instance, because this is the second EC2 instance. So we need to check if Apache is already installed. If it is not, we need to install it. So since I haven't installed it on this EC2 instance, I'm going to install Apache. Okay, Apache is installed. Then I need to, it is telling me to run this command. I'm going to try this. So that is not found, right? But I've done this before, which is why I said that you would have to you would have to do a couple of research to find it. But in the command you guys ran in your project, I already have the command there, how to run this. I believe when I was working on the command previously, I did a couple of research to find it. And if you ask ChatGPT, so sometimes what I do is how ChatGPT told me to run this command, and I paste it in here, right? And it gave me this error. I'm just going to tell it that this command didn't work. I'm just going to say, and it would most likely give you another one. It is giving me another one here. I'm going to try this one. And this one too also doesn't work. I mean, this is editing the file, but this is not what we need. So I'm just going to do, it's using Nano to edit the file. So I'm just going to Control X to exit. But basically for this one, you need to come in this file and update the command. And if you look in your project, the dynamic project, I already gave you guys the command in that project. And I'll also paste it here. I'll paste it in Slack, and I'll also paste it in this note. So based on the research I did, this is the command. This command works. And literally, that is how you get all these commands for the requirement. And isn't it the same thing? I don't know. You guys can, someone said, can we use Vim instead of VI? Isn't it the same thing, or is it different? I think it's the same thing, but I may be wrong. Yes, you can use it. You can use VI to edit this file on your server. You can do that. But I'm saying when you now add the command in your CI/CD, right, you won't be there to type whatever you want to change it to. So what we are doing now is we are thinking ahead of coming up with a command that we can run that allows us to do that. So when we get to the CI/CD part, we are able to do everything without having to physically SSH into the server. So these are the commands that would satisfy all the requirements that your server must have to be able to run the next dynamic application we are deploying. So I want to walk you guys through the process. The same process applies to when you want to install and configure the server. Look at what the instruction is saying and follow the steps to make sure you are meeting each one to install and configure the server. This I will let you do on your own, but I just want to kind of like point you through this software installation and server requirements part. And it doesn't matter any type of application you are trying to install on AWS, you can use the same strategy to install any application on AWS. This is what I use. And you can see it took time, but this is what you have to do the first time you are installing something you don't know how to install. And now that I have my command, I can save it somewhere. If I need to run this command sometime, any other time, I know this command works. So that is it for today's demo. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you to share your techniques, sir.
No problem. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, please. I realized that when you run one of the commands twice, and then you had to start a new server. In case you are doing it, let's say you put in a wrong command. Is there a command to undo a wrong command in Linux?
That is a good question. I don't know. Does someone else know? Is there a command to undo the previous command we ran? Because some of this command, I will probably lean more towards no. Oh, you know what? You know, some of these commands, what they do is they are installing something. So maybe if you want to undo what you did with the previous command, you probably have to uninstall whatever you installed, then start all over again.
So let's say, I think.
Sir?
I think it is on uninstall.
Yeah, uninstall. Yes. So whatever the command will be to uninstall whatever you install that you didn't mean to install. So I think that's what we would do too. We would have to uninstall that stuff, then we would reinstall it again with the right command. But at this stage, there will be, when I must have probably launched 10 EC2 instances when I was running the commands for the first time, trying to find which command works, because my old command, my other command is based on Amazon Linux 2. And you guys know when you run that command on the 2023, it doesn't work. Some of it works, some of it does not work. So when I was testing it, this is the trial and error that I go through. So I also want to show you guys the part of the trial and error. Sometimes you may not know something. Sometimes you may run the wrong command. This is the kind of like the ugly part of it. I don't just want you guys to feel like every single time you just arrive at the command. No, you have to, if you have a better method of coming up with the command, fine. But for me, this is how I come up with the command. I just run launch an EC2 instance and try to use it as testing to test my command. And if it works, I'll just keep building my script. And this is how you come up with a full script. You guys can see we started from here, and before you know it, we have a full script. So when you guys ask me, how do I come up with a script? This is exactly how I come up with a script. Okay.
Okay, second question, please.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So, sometimes when you run a command and it finishes running, the prompt doesn't come. Like that like with the IP address, that thing. So let's say you get stuck and the prompt is not coming. What do you do? Maybe you press enter so many times. It's like the terminal has just frozen. What do you do? I've experienced it. Yeah.
Okay. So are you sure the prompt? So, okay, to answer that question, two things you need to make sure is, because anytime you run a command, right, the shell prompt goes away. When the shell prompt goes away, it means that it is still running the command. So whenever the shell prompt is available again, it means that you can run your next command. So the thing you need to make sure is your terminal stuck or is it still running the command? Because some softwares you install will take 20 minutes. Some may take, it's just that the things we are installing takes like a couple of seconds to install, but there could be certain things you are installing that will take at least a minute or two. So you need to make sure whether the command is still running or your shell prompt is just stuck. But either way, if you abruptly close the terminal, right, you can just SSH back into your EC2 instance and run the last command you ran. So if it already ran something, it would tell you that there's an error, this is already installed. Then you can just pick back up from where you left off. But there is, Linux has an option called screen. And let me see if I remember it. It's been a while since I use it. So how screen works is, screen allows you at work when we are running some commands that would take literally, because we are installing so many things, it might take an hour, 30 minutes to an hour for everything to run, right? So what we'll do is we will open a screen session on Linux. A screen session just allows you to, what it does is, let me see if I still remember because it's been a while since I ran it. So here, I'm going to type screen dash, I believe it's capital S and the name of the screen. So you can call it any name. So if I press this and press enter, it has opened a screen, right? You can see here, it says screen. I don't know if you guys can see. So what this means is it will be running my commands in the, I don't know what it used to do it, but it is running my commands behind the scene that if I abruptly close my terminal, it is still running the command. If you open a terminal and you run your command the first time without opening a screen, if you close the terminal, it is going to stop whatever it is running. But now that I opened the screen session, now that I've closed my terminal, the command that I'm running will still be running. And if I open it back again and SSH into my EC2 instance, I can still go back into that screen session. And I think to go back in it, you type screen minus, I believe it's R and capital D.
Typo screen. There's a typo.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, screen. Thank you. Screen. And I believe it's capital R E D. I believe it's, I don't know if it's 2D or 1D. And the name of the screen you created. So let me try this command. See, the command is screen -RD, capital D, and the name of the screen. So at that point, does anyone know a command that takes forever to run? So we can test it. So basically, now that I came back into the screen, you will still see your commands running. So this is another thing you can use to run your commands on Linux if you feel like the command is going to take forever and you don't want to abruptly close your terminal. So it is screen. So remember, these are the two commands. If I type history. So I'm in the screen now. And to exit the screen, I believe you just do exit. So I've exited the screen. You can see here it says screen is terminated. Now, if I type history, these are the two commands you can use to start the screen and go back into the screen if you abruptly close it. I'll paste it in the DevOps channel. So when you guys are pasting stuff in Slack, did you guys know that if you want to paste multiple lines of code, if you click this, it will paste the lines of code for you. And this is how you see me paste code in Slack. And if you want to paste a single line of code, you use this one. So if I type sudo yum update -y. So that is how you paste the code in. When you are typing your notes, this is how you paste the code. So you can use this for multi-line code and this for single line code. I didn't know if you guys knew that. But if you want to open screen, this is how you open it. Let me edit that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So to answer your question, yeah, you need to make sure that, is it that your command is still running or your terminal is frozen? But at that, I can't answer. Hi, Teresa. Go ahead.
Hi, Aziz. Thank you so much. So I'm just joining today for the first time, and I have a couple of questions.
Okay,
The
go ahead.
first, yeah, having reviewed some of the mentorship video you posted on YouTube, I had some questions which I wanted to get clarification on. The first would be on projects. I don't know if there are any project
Okay.
group and process to join the group. Then the second would be, I also overheard you when I was going through the various projects on my course library. I also, at some point, you did mention about giving projects or maybe tasks after we've completed those projects, just to validate our knowledge. So I don't know the procedure for that, if we're to reach out to you on the Slack channel to get that. And the third question I have is regarding resume. I wanted to ask a question on resume, but I don't know if it's the right time to ask or if I should ask on Slack.
Well, for your resume, we can meet at a separate time to ask. Also for your resume, I would say that I know you've been working on the project for a while, so I'll say try to complete all the projects before you start building we can certainly start building your resume as we go, but I'll say one of the mistakes I see a lot of people want to validate all your knowledge in certain areas to just give you a better chance of applying and making sure you are confident during the interview. So certainly we can build your resume as we go, and we can discuss that at a separate time on Slack. To answer your first two questions, and it is a good question, so let me revisit it again. So in the beginning of today's session, I said that in the DevOps channel, when you guys come to the DevOps channel here, you will see this icon up here that has like this file. Click it. Here, it has the helpful link. So in this helpful link, you will find some of the links of things we've discussed in the past. Like this information gives you access to the Jira board and the weekly session. So some of the information you will need will be here. And if it is not here, let me know. I would add the link here. So for the projects you are completing in your account, when you finish project one, the assignment to project one is here. I've already added here. Download it and complete it. So when you download it and complete it, in addition to this, you can come to the Jira board here, which in that link, you will see the password you can use to access the Jira board. Create your Jira ticket here. To create your ticket, it is very simple. You click create. It is going to be a story. You give it a description, a name. So what I recommend that everyone do is first start with your name dash whatever the task you are working on is. Then you just add some brief summary of the task here. This is just to get you familiar with how your day-to-day will be like as a cloud engineer. Did you guys know, and I'll be 100% honest with you guys, do you guys know sometimes when a new task get assigned to me at work, at the beginning of the sprint, I'm supposed to like create my own ticket and start working on it, right? But sometimes I just jump straight to the work and forget to create my ticket. On my performance review, my manager actually mentioned it as one of the things I need to improve on is creating my ticket on time. So when you guys are creating your ticket here and doing all these things, I'm telling you, I think I've only worked on one project where we had a Scrum Master that was creating the ticket, but for the most part, you will be responsible for creating your own ticket, writing the ticket, and filling in all the information. So I just want to stress how important creating a ticket is, so that way you just get used to it. So Teresa, I want you to add the summary here. Make sure you start with your name, so that way when I'm looking at it, I know it's your ticket. You put a brief description. You can get the description from the documents that I give you on what to complete. Then here, the main important thing that I always say here is click assign to me. It doesn't matter because we are all using the same password to log in. So if you click assign to me, it will show the name of the credentials that you are using to sign in. But how I will know is your ticket is from the name you put in your name here. And the main important thing here is on that sprint. So you want to click this drop down. Whatever sprint we are on will show up here, and make sure you select. When you select it, you can add story point. The story point, let's say 3. It just means how difficult the work will be, how much time it will take you to complete it. This, we are just using it as practice. So you can say 3, for example, and click create. So when you click create here, I'm just going to do test. So when you remember, once you enter your information here, the details on that sprint, you guys make sure you select the current sprint so that your ticket shows up on the board. Then you click create. So when you click create, you can see it showed up in sprint 6 on the board. Now you can start working on it. You can drag it to in progress, edit it here. Here you can add comments. And if I also provide feedback, you will see the feedback under comments. And that is how you do it. So some of the things you guys have been doing is when you create your ticket, I'll create another ticket here. I'll just do a random ticket, right? Some of you guys forget to select this sprint, which is fine. So if you forget to select the sprint and you create your ticket, you are wondering why your ticket is not showing on the board. That is because you didn't select this sprint, so your ticket is not in this sprint. To get your ticket in this sprint, go to the backlog. If you don't select the sprint, the ticket will show up in the backlog. So if you click backlog here, these are the backlog you can see down here. These are some tickets that you guys have created that is not, that you didn't select the sprint. You can see this is the one I just created that I didn't select the sprint. So if you create a ticket and you don't see it in the sprint, go to the backlog, you will see it there. All you have to do is select it like this. This is the easiest way I find. Select it, drag it to the current sprint, and click confirm. So now if I go to the board for the sprint, you can see it is there. So this is how you create your ticket to track it. And that, I believe that answers your question on how to access the assignment, the Jira board, and track the work you are working on. And another thing I just created is this Excel document that allows you guys to track your project. So if your name is not here, once I give you access, add your name here. Then once you add your name and the necessary information, to get this option that are available in all this other space, for lack of a better word, all you have to do is click this cell, right click and copy it. Then let's say this is your name here. And I don't know how to spell your name. I don't want to spell it wrong. So I'll just put THE for now. So let's say this is your name and you put all this other information. Once you select this cell, copy it, then select here, right click and do paste special and select data validation only. So that will put that option there. You can select all 3 and do the same, special and data validation. So what I've done in this data validation only is for each assignment, you have the option to select not started, in progress, or completed. So my idea for this is when you guys are looking at the full Excel, you can see who in your class has completed the project you may be working on. So if you need assistance with that project, you can reach out to them. And based on whoever you feel comfortable working with, you can join their group. So the group, I wouldn't be in charge of assigning you to a group anymore. You guys would just assign each other to whatever group based on who you feel confident working with. And you guys also feel free to put your time zone here on what your time zone is. So that way people will know when is the best time to catch you online. So these are the things you need to do to get started, Teresa. Did I answer your question? I know that was a lot.
No, you did. I think with time I'll get a hold of them. And just the last one, for the Jira board, when it's in progress, am I also the one to move it to a review, or it will be you?
Yeah, that would be you. So you move it to you. You guys are responsible for moving your ticket. Once you create a ticket, it will be here. When you start working on it, remember to move it here. This is exactly how it is at work. And once you start working on it, when you are ready for your lead, usually there will be someone to review your work. You move it to in review. Or maybe when you create a PR, we'll talk about that. It will be in review. And once your work is done, you are also responsible to moving it to done. but I've been moving it to done for you guys for me to be able to keep track of what I've reviewed and what is done. So I've been dragging it to done for you, but you guys are responsible for at least moving it from the to-do to in review. And if I review a work, I'll give you a couple of days to respond to it. If you don't respond, and just for me to clean up this in review so I know what I've done, I'll just move it to done. But at work, you will be responsible for moving it.
After done, where is it going, sir?
It's done. After done, it's done. I'll just delete it.
Who cleared that lane?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. All right, that is it for today's class. It's already 1. So thank you. I believe today's class is very productive. So I gave you guys the answer to the first part of the next project you guys are working on, but I felt it is necessary to show you the process that I used to come up with the script that I used to run the command. So you guys saw last week when we did the flywheel migrate, it was kind of like the same process too. So that is how we come up with the script. We just don't sit there and write the script off it. It's research, trials and error, and that's how you come up with those scripts, which is one of the reasons why I feel it is necessary to share with you. So continue your work. Reach out to me on Slack if you have any questions, and have a good weekend. Have a good weekend, guys. Thank you.
Before you go, can I ask a question, please?
Hello, this. Oh, okay.
Yes, class is over. I would stop the recording, and if you guys have any additional question, you can stay, and I'll stay to answer your question.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Aziz.
Okay.
You did a good job.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good weekend, guys.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.